Today is the 13th day of Menachem Av, and we are in the midst of learning Daf Yud of Maseches Pesachim, and we are up to the bottom of. Oh, there we go. And we are up to the bottom of Daf Yud Amud Aleph. Opening up here, the Gemara had top line of Yud and Beis. The Gemara is discussing a number of different scenarios, as we've seen before. A number of different scenarios of finding chametz or situations where you might find chametz, and what they might be akin to in other situations in Shas. The Gemara asks a question like this: what happens if you left chametz in one corner of your house? Meaning you did bedikas chametz and you left the chametz in one corner of your house. And then you found it in another corner of your house. So this is the "who moves my cheese" question. It says the Gemara plugs the Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel v'Rabbanan. This is a machlokes between Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and the Rabbanan Tanya. We have a brayso that says as follows: if you have an axe that got lost in your house, it disappeared. Habayis tame. The whole house is going to be tame. Shani Omer, I say, Adam tame nichnas hasham v'nadlai. That a Tami person came along and picked it up and walked out with it. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Habai star, the whole house is going to be tahar. Shani Omer, I'm going to say, he lent it to somebody and then forgot. But it's not that a random person came in and has been trashing your house, making everything Tami. You gave it to somebody, you forgot. Alternatively, you took it from one corner to another corner and you forgot what you had done with it. And the Gemara now questions, hold up 1 second. We started off with talking about an axe that got lost. What are we talking about? Putting something in a different corner. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about a corner for? That's not part of the story. Here's the Gemara. No, we're missing some information in the brayso. Let's spell out the rest of the words of the brayso. It says the Gemara, this is what is supposed to be said in the brayso. If you have an axe that got lost in your house, the whole house is going to be tame. I'm going to say that a tame person came and he touched it, and therefore rendering the whole house tame, he trashed the whole house. Alternatively, the same question applies if you left it in one corner and it showed up in another corner. Habayis tame, the whole house is tame. I'm going to say, Adam tame nichnas l'sham v'nadlai mi zavizuvi nech b'zavis acheres. A tame person came along. He picked it up from one side of the house, one corner, and put it in another corner. And then Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Habayis tahar, in both of these cases, both cases, the bias is going to be tahar. Shani Omer, I'm going to say, Ishalai le'achar v'shachach. He's going to, that I can genuinely say, that you probably lent it to somebody and you forgot. Or that I picked it up from one corner and put it in another corner and forgot. Meaning the machlokes is when something goes missing in your house, what are the two most likely scenarios? Or something gets moved in your house. Is it that somebody else moved it or that you moved it? So if we're going to say that you put chametz in one side of your house and it got moved to the other side of the house, does that mean that somebody came along and started moving around your chametz? If that's the case, you have to check for chametz again. But if you're going to say that, no, it's likely that you probably moved it and you forgot that you moved it. People do things like this all the time. Here's the Gemara. Sorry, it says the Gemara. Then that would be the machlokes between Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and the Rabbanan. Okay. It says the Gemara, another case. Amar Rava says, Achbar nichnas v'kikar b'piv. You see a mouse running into your house, mouse in the house, and it's got bread in its mouth. V'nichnas acharav, and you run after it, umatz pirurin, you find crumbs, tzarach bedika. There you need to check the whole house again. Why? because it's not the way of a mouse to leave crumbs. Mice don't leave crumbs. Rava was probably more familiar with mice than we are today, Baruch Hashem. Our homes do not usually have infestations of mice, but Chazal dealt with mice all the time. And Rava is telling us that an achmar, a mouse, does not leave crumbs. Rava adds, that if a kid comes in, a baby comes in, a toddler comes into your house, and he's carrying kikar, he's carrying some bread. And then you go in and you find peru, you find crumbs. There you do not need to check. Why? Because the way the kids operate is that they leave crumbs. Meaning, the crumbs that you found, is that from the event that has already occurred of the mouse? No. Those crumbs must have come from somewhere else. And the mouse is a tangential piece of evidence. It has nothing to do with the mouse. But with a kid, if a kid runs through your house and then you run after them and you find crumbs, then yeah, it's likely that it came from the kid. And therefore you don't recheck the whole house. But Rava says, what happens if a mouse runs into your house? There is bread in its mouth. And the mouse runs out of the house and there's bread in its mouth. Mahu, what's the halacha? So the most obvious thing to say is he ran in with bread, he ran out with bread. Nevertheless, says the Gemara, you could also entertain. Rava's asking, Miamrina, and do we say, Hainu hai da'al, Hainu hai dinafak? This is the one that came in, and this is the one that came out. Maybe you said this is a different mouse. Meaning, all that you know is that a mouse ran into your house with bread. And then you see a mouse ran out of your house with bread. Do you know that it's the same mouse? How can you be certain that this is the same mouse? Maybe you need to recheck your whole house. And then, let's elaborate on that question or go deeper into the question. In terms of Solomon, if you want to say, Hainu hai da'al v'hainu hai da'nafak, that the same one that went in is the same one that went out. Achbar lavan nichnas v'achbar v'kikar b'piv. What happens if you see a white mouse running in and a black mouse running out, both of them with a kikar, with bread in their mouths? What's the din then? Do we say hi vada achrinhu? Do we say that this is a different piece of bread? Or dilma armai armimine? Or do we say that the black mouse bumped off the white mouse and took his bread? Meaning, if you're going to say that this is for sure a different piece of bread, well, then you have to recheck your house again. Or maybe you could say that one mouse has attacked another mouse and taken the bread. You saw bread coming in, bread coming out. Different mouses carrying it, but maybe you took it from the white mouse. Maybe you want to say, the mice don't bump each other off. They're kind to each other. They don't steal each other's bread. Yeah, that's all good and well for mice. What happens if you have a mouse that runs in and it's got a piece of bread in its mouth? And then a weasel is running out of your house and it's got a kikar in its mouth. Mahu, what's the din there? If this is the case, my guess is that you probably should call an exterminator. But, says the Gemara, Chulda is definitely going to be taken from a mouse. They don't have this kinship, this brothership, that they're not taking each other's bread. Well, Chulda is for sure not worrying about taking the mouse's bread, he's taking it. Oh, Dilma, maybe you want to say Achrinahu. Maybe this is different completely. Because maybe you would say that if it took from the achbar, then achbar befiha mistakach, then it wouldn't just have bread in its mouth; it would have the achbar, it would have the mouse in its mouth as well. Meaning, do I need to be concerned that if I see the weasel coming out, that without it also carrying a mouse in its mouth, that this must be a different piece of bread? Or can I say, no, it's probably just took it from the mouse? So a further question, meaning, and all of these questions would be, do I need to recheck my house for the bread that's gone missing? Maybe you want to say, that if it took it from the mouse, then the mouse would be in its mouth. So let's say you see that. A mouse runs into your house with bread. A weasel runs out. It's got a mouse and bread in its mouth. Mahu. What's the halacha there? So you would say, obviously, that this is the chulda carrying out the mouse with the bread. Or perhaps, hachavada, you're going to say that's for sure the right mouse, right? Udilma, perhaps, is it the if that truly would be the right mouse with the bread, well then the weasel should be eating the mouse and the mouse should still be eating the bread. But what if the bread and the mouse are simultaneously in the mouth of the chulda? What's the din there? Maybe you say that because the mouse was afraid, it dropped the bread, and the chulda has picked up both. And then, if that would be the case, then you don't need to check your whole house again. And then the chulda took all of it. In all of these cases, says the Gemara Teiku, we have this question unresolved. Meaning all of Rava's questions here, starting from mouse running in and mouse running out, until this case of the Achbar B'Fiv, meaning if a mouse runs into your house and then something else comes out, and we don't have absolute certainty as to what happened, since there is evidence that you know that the house is Baduk, but now you have a big question. Maybe it's not Baduk anymore. Now you need to know with certainty that it is still Baduk, that it is still checked before you can go forward, or maybe you don't. Maybe circumstantial evidence is enough. And in these questions, we answer Teiku, which the Shlag Kodesh, I think it goes already back to the Aruch, writes that Teiku is Rosh Hashanah Tishbi, Yitaretz Kushis, Uvayas, that Eliyahu Navi will come. He will answer all of our questions and queries. This is Teiku, we have this unresolved. Says the Gemara further. By Rava. Rava then asks as follows: Kikar bishmei kara. What happens if you have bread that's sitting on top of a beam in your house? You have a very high ceiling, there's a beam at the top. And it happens from time to time that some kid was like playing with something and he threw the pita, frisbeed the pita, it landed 20 feet on top of this very high beam, and it's been sitting there for the last week and a half. And you need a ladder to get it down. Or maybe you don't need to get it down. You can just be mevatel it. Meaning this is like, arguably, chametz that's under a nefel, that's under a mapala, sorry. There was a building that collapsed, and you have the bread that's stuck underneath that, and a dog can't get to it, and you're not going digging for it. You mevatel beliba, no problem. It's totally inaccessible. So do we say maybe the Rabbanan never insisted that you go searching so high, meaning that you go schlepping, you go hire a ladder, you gotta get a lift. Do you need to do all of that? Do we say because it's not coming down by itself, you're never going to end up eating it? Or perhaps, or maybe sometimes things happen, and that pita is going to fall. The pita that was stuck there from a week ago is going to fall down. Now on chametz, you got chametz and Pesach, it's landing on the floor. Maybe you want to say that sometimes it's going to happen and it's going to crash down. So that's good and well if it's high up. But what happens if you have bread that's in a pit? And you need a ladder to get it up. Gravity is not going to make it come all the way up. Maybe you don't need to go get a ladder. So we say there for sure it's not going to end up climbing to ground level by itself. Or perhaps maybe at some point during Chalamayid you're going to go down into the pit and you're going to need to do something, to slap something out, and you are going to end up eating it. Meaning, it's not that it is going to fall down by itself, but it's in a pit. Maybe you need to get into that pit at some point in time. Maybe you want to say that in that case you have to go and check for that chametz, to go and find that chametz, because sometimes you're going to go into the pit and you're going to end up forgetting that it's Pesach, you're going to end up eating your chametz. So kika b'fi nachash. What happens if you have chametz in the mouth of a nachash? You have snakes at the back of your heart, whatever it is, and there's some bread there. So you're for sure not going there by yourself. But tzarich chabar lahotzia in tzarich. Do you need to hire a snake charmer to be able to extract that in order to get rid of it, or in tzarich? What's the concern there, that maybe the snakes are going to walk away? The snakes are going to walk away and crawl away, slither away, and then you are going to end up with bread there that is going to become accessible, because snakes don't normatively eat bread. So it's got it there, but it's not going to end up eating it. Rashi points out that the phrase imtim salomar doesn't really apply here. Imtim salomar we've been using as the continuation. Meaning, and if you want to say in this kind of situation, we said on the roof, and then we said in the pit, and then we said intim saloma, meaning unless you're going to say that it's in the pit that there's nachash there, but that doesn't seem to be part of the flow of the Gemara. Rashi says that we don't add in the intim saloma, but okay. Begufe atuchur rabban. Do we say with this case begufe? What's that question? That the Chachamim insisted that you that you do a mitzvah with your body, with your time, with your guf. B'mamoni, with your money, the Rabbanan did not necessarily insist that you spend money on this mitzvah. Udilma, or perhaps, it doesn't make a difference. Whether it is your body or your money, they insisted that you do it. Teku, that is unresolved. Meaning, this final question is unlike the rest of the questions that we have been asking. Were it to be that you could run and chase away the snakes and pick up the bread and get rid of it, you would absolutely be obligated to do so. But what happens if you need a professional in order to access this chametz right now? Are you obligated to spend money on it? Now, we have a principle when it comes to dinim de'oraisa in general, that a person is never allowed to violate an issur d'Rabbanan for money. Meaning, if somebody says, I'm going to take away all of your money unless you eat chaza, so then you have to let them take away all of your money. If they say, I'm going to put a gun to your head, I'm going to shoot you if you don't eat the chaza, so then chaza is not one of the three mitzvahs which are yareg v'al yavar, that we are obligated to give up our lives for. But are we obligated to give up our money to not violate an issur? Yes, we're obligated to give up our money not to violate an issur. What about doing a mitzvah? So the Gemara as a principle in general, that that one is not obligated to spend more than a fifth of their wealth on keeping a mitzvah d'oraisa, meaning keeping a positive mitzvah d'oraisa. So if it costs you more than 20% of your net worth to shake lulav nesher, then you are not obligated in lulav nesher. That, by the way, is the rationale behind the heter that people have bisman hazeh already for many years, and this is discussed by the Achronim. The halacha is that a person is supposed to divorce their wife if he cannot have children with her after 10 years. And you find many times that there's chachamim and gedalim that got married, that their wives couldn't have children, and they kept on being married to their wives. That's against the din of the Gemara. So the Achronim explained, no, means that the quality of your life is significantly impacted by the person that you married to, and for a person to give up their relationship with their wife is certainly, at least you hope, more than a fifth of their life, meaning that's something that they would pay a lot more for. So that would be the din with regards to mavazvus alivazvus. Says the Mishnah as follows. Next Mishnah in the Masechta. Masnisin Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda tells us, Bodkim ar Bodkim ar arba asar, not le arba asar, or arba asar, uva arba asar shachris uva shas habir. Rabbi Yehuda says that you check on the night of the 14th and on the morning of the 14th and at the time of getting rid of the chametz, the time of destroying the chametz. The Chachamim say, "Lo badak arba asar yivdak be'arba asar." The Chachamim say if you didn't check on the night of the 14th, you should check on the day of the 14th. Lo badak be'arba asar yivdak be'sech. If you didn't check on the 14th, you should check during the moed, during the festival, during Pesach itself. Lo badak be'sech hamoed. If you didn't check during the Yom Tov itself, yivdak lachar moed, then you still are chayev in checking afterwards. That which is left, you should leave in a hidden place, so that you don't need to go check afterwards. And this is the mission that we had seen beforehand. In what circumstance you would or wouldn't need to go check afterwards. Says the Gemara, my time to Rabbi Yehuda. What's this rationale behind Rabbi Yehuda's din? Where he says that you have to check 3 times over. Rav Chisda and Rav Huna, both of them said, the Torah says to get rid of chametz 3 times. Lo yira elecha chametz v'lo yira elecha asar. That's pasuk number 1. Shivas yamim sa'ar lo yimatzev b'ateichem. Pasuk number 2. And ach b'yam harishon tashbishu sa'ar b'ateichem. That is pasuk number 3. These are the 3 psukim that tell you about getting rid of chametz. And therefore, there's 3 hashbasas, 3 getting rid ofs in the Torah, 3 psukim that describe getting rid of chametz. Maseches Rabbi Yosef rejects us. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Kol shaloi badak b'shlosh prakim halalu shuv ein badik." We have a brisa that anybody that didn't check these 3 times, shuv ein badik, shouldn't check anymore. What does that mean? Alma b'mikan va'elach hu depligi. No, it sounds like the machlokes is only talking about the 3 options that you have for checking, meaning that there are 3 opportunities that you have to check. It's not that he obligates you to check 3 times. You can check at night, and you can check. If you didn't check at night, then you can check in the morning. If you didn't check in the morning, you should check b'shas beer. Thereafter, there is a question, meaning thereafter he says, now you've lost the mitzvah because chametz, it doesn't help you. Marzutra taught the brisa even more specifically. Maseches Rav Yehuda says, Maseches Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef disagreed. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Kol shaloi badak be'echad mishlosh prakim halalu." Anybody that didn't check at one of these 3 times, shuv ein badik, that's why he is not going to be able to check again. Alma b'shuv ein badik hu depligi. That Rabbi Yehuda is the one that disagrees about being able to check afterwards. But you should certainly only check once, meaning you're certainly only obligated to check once, and those are your 3 opportunities to do so on Erev Pesach. And Rabbi Yehuda nami im loy badak amar. The Gemara is saying, no, Rabbi Yehuda is saying if you didn't check at the first opportunity, that's where Rabbi Yehuda is saying that you need to check again. So what's the machlokes? This is the disagreement. One of them holds that before the Shas Isur, before the time of the Isur, that you are obligated to check, but after the Shas Isur, you are no longer obligated to check. Gzeira, what's the concern? Because now that you're searching for chametz, you might end up eating it. The Rabbanan say, we do not make such a gzeira. Now, the bottom of the Amud, the Gemara is then going to challenge that, and that is going to go deep into tomorrow's Amud. So, as Hashem is baruch, to be continued then. Everybody have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.